Yeah, I had a lot of fun for 50 years. I don't, I really don't have any hobbies, so I'll keep doing this for a while. I guess I got a
But
few cases backed up.
it's what you do now, right? Like you found your niche in the profession. You found your niche I think of it as you've merged your hobby with your work.
Yeah, true. That's right. And then the most other serious case was two other cases at a triple homicide in La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Good evening and welcome to a special Channel 8 news program, The Frydenlund File, Beyond a Reasonable Doubt. We're here in the Brookview Mobile Home Park, lot number 20, located just outside the city of La Crosse. Now, it was 21 months ago that family members and authorities entered this trailer home and found the bodies of Suzette Frydenlund, Celia, and Leroy Weibel. From the beginning, it was a tale of two personalities. Do you believe James Frydenlund is the cruel, abusive husband who killed his wife Suzette and his in-laws, or is he a God-fearing religious man who wanted only to keep his marriage together? The 9 women and 3 men of the jury listened to nearly 100 witnesses and saw nearly 350 exhibits.
Quite frankly, you get done with Mr. Horn's arguments, you believe in his case, you get done with Mr. Gray's arguments, you believe in his case. I think it's going to be very, very difficult for this jury because I think this case has been so well presented by 2 very effective lawyers.
My sister's laying on the floor in the living room with a rug over her head and there's blood all over it. And my mom and her husband are in bed with blood and with pillows over their heads and stuff.
As the 3 murders were spelled out, the La Crosse community yearned to heal. If anything separates this trial from any other, it is the brutality of the crimes and the emotion expressed by numbers of witnesses. It is because all 3 of the victims were so savagely beaten, District Attorney Scott Horn felt justice needed to be served, and he felt it needed to be served on James Frydenlund.
It's a high-level case, a lot of pressure involved. It sounds like some gory dynamics there.
I was hired by a Minneapolis detective to represent his son. He sat in jail for over a year, so I remember it. We tried the case in La Crosse. It was a circumstantial evidence case.
For La Crosse County District Attorney Scott Horn, this case meant nearly 2 years of work on a case he knew to be circumstantial, yet he felt to be convincing.
We felt that even though there wasn't a significant amount of physical evidence that was left, the treatment of the bodies what was a signature of sorts, an act that really pointed to a person who was close to the family or victims.
The circumstantial evidence that they have mustered against Mr. Frydenlund is not adequate to convict him beyond a reasonable doubt.
Quite frankly, in trying to sit back and assess it, I don't think we could have done a better job in presenting the case or arguing the case to the jury, and I say that in all candor. This isn't a case where I'm going to sit back and beat up on myself for mistakes. I don't think I could have done a better job. I don't think the investigators could have done a better job in investigating the case. And I honestly believe that this really is a case where everything that could have been done was done.
And I won it all when he was released from jail. That was a big case, 3 first-degree murders.
Wow.
Of all the witnesses, though, there was a particular amount of attention paid to one. Rocky Bork, Suzette's brother, and arguably Celia's favorite child, was named by defense attorney Earl Gray as the other suspect in these horrible crimes. From then on, it sometimes seemed that Rocky himself was on trial.
It may very well be that the jury can reject it out of hand, given the explanations that have been set forward, but I think that is something that is in their province rather than mine.
With those words, Judge Michael Mulroy officially allowed a secondary suspect to be introduced into these proceedings. His name is Rocky Bork, brother of victim Suzette and son of victim Celia. From day one of these proceedings, it was obvious what the defense planned on doing.
I don't think there's any question that it was terribly unfair to Rocky Bork to have been thrust into this merely because he had access to the crime scene, and I think that's really all that it was. There's no question that it was unfair from a personal level, perhaps even from a moral level.
If I were on a jury, I'd be very suspicious of somebody throwing flashlights and going crazy and blaming somebody else right away, if I were a juror. And I guess when you try these cases, you try and get into the head of the jurors and try and feel like they would feel.
And he eventually answered the same question the defendant did.
I mean, I was in bad shape. I walked out of the room and I punched the wall and the officers came.
Did you kill your mom?
No, I did not.
Instead of asking about his mom that he loves so dearly, he says, "Where are the kids?" The only ones that he was involved, he knew weren't dead. Why? Why wouldn't he immediately say, "Where's Mom?" Then there's a dispute about the flashlight. He says Zetas told him to get a flashlight. Zetas says he told him to get a flashlight. So what, right? Neither one probably remember accurately. But the fact is, he went back in that bedroom. Now, if he had no knowledge whatsoever of his mother being dead, his testimony alone seems to convict him of something. He says that the light was off. He did not use the flashlight. He just looked in there and didn't even look, or just looked for a second and walked out and threw the flashlight. How? I ask you, how in the world could he know for sure his mom was dead? He said the next thing he did was smash the flashlight, punch the wall, display anger, remained in the living room area, pacing from the bedroom to the living room, never went in the bedroom. That's what he said. And the next thing is he's on the stoop. And what did you do next, Rocky? He says, "I went to my mother's car and got the keychain. And here it is on my collar." How did he get in his mother's car? How did he know his mom was dead? Suspicious, I'd say. Did you have anything at all to do with the murders of your wife, Seal, and Leroy Weibel?
No. It came down the odometer because everything else could have been one way or the other.
The 87 Toyota van, is that right?
Yeah.
And the odometer's in there, right?
Yeah.
And you did some work totaling $205 on this one, right?
Yeah.
And you took the check on this one, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
And the date of the order, the date the work was done was what?
It's written down incorrect. It was done on...
The date the order was written?
9/16/92.
And the date the check was accepted was what?
6/26/90.
3 months you accepted the check before the work was done, right?
You know, and so how can we put a guy away for the rest of his life because of exactly 400 miles, you know? It just came down to that.
Clerk will read the verdict.
We, the jury, find the defendant, James Frydenlund, not guilty of first count intentional homicide as charged in the first count of the information.
You know, I guess, in all honesty, I've never felt as crushed by a court decision in my whole career. I felt very strongly that the case was a solid one, and particularly having gone through the trial, that the evidence went in about as cleanly as we possibly could have hoped for. And I mean, the decision, quite frankly, was a devastating one.
I was there every day. I saw the pictures. I saw the gruesome things, you know, and I felt that we made the decision to the best of our ability. I think there was only one decision. You know, there was only one choice that you could make, and, you know, it was not guilty.